Shalom everybody, I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by these guys, Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines every Monday to Thursday. It has been a particularly devastating weekend for us in Israel. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I just want to remind everybody that today is 297 days since the start of Israel's war with Hamas following the atrocities of the 7th of October. There are still 115 hostages being held captive by Hamas as we speak. We want them home now. And today's viewer question, which comes from Honey Creel, pertains to the hostages. But let's get into those top stories. And it has been an absolutely devastating weekend for us in Israel, following what can only be described as a massacre by Hezbollah. We've been speaking about Iranian proxy Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon, who have continuously fired rockets, mortars, and drones towards Israeli sovereign territory. And we can't forget that we still have nearly 100,000 civilians from the north of the country that remain evacuated. But on Saturday late afternoon, a rocket fired by Hezbollah struck a soccer field where children in the Druze village of Majdal Shams were playing soccer just like millions of other children around the world. Perhaps they had dreams of the Olympics or wanted to play for Team Israel, when 12 of them were brutally murdered by the impact of this rocket, and at least 30 others injured, 5 of whom remain in serious condition in hospitals across the north of the state of Israel. Now, the Druze are part of Israeli society, and I have seen many anti-Israelists do the mental gymnastics trying to understand how in what they call an apartheid ethno-supremacist Jewish supremacist state, there can be another group of people called the Druze, who are citizens of the state of Israel, who are loyal to the state of Israel, and who we consider our brothers and sisters bound to us by a covenant of blood. The palpable sorrow throughout this country has been enormous, and it has ripped through all of our hearts. Ben Gurion Airport, the Strings Bridge in Jerusalem, the area, the municipal building in Tel Aviv, all lighting up in our sorrow, showing the Druze flag. Now, let's take a look at the events that have transpired since then. Hezbollah put out an announcement shortly after that, hailing the martyrs of their rocket attack, and then quickly denied that they were responsible. They claimed that an Iron Dome interceptor fell short and killed these children. Now, what we do know with absolute irrefutable proof is that it was an Iranian Falak rocket that was fired towards these children. Whether it was deliberate or not, we don't know. Was Hezbollah aiming for a military base? Majdal Shams is very, very close to the border with Lebanon. We know that apparently, according to the IDF who investigated, the sirens did go, but not long enough for people to get to shelter. These scenes were absolutely horrific. Unfortunately, some of the photos, not pixelated from the scene, were put on across social media, and I'm not even going to describe the horror that so many of us have seen. You can only imagine for yourselves. And we know exactly from where in Lebanon it was fired and by whom. This has been confirmed. Excuse me, I sneezed on the truth. And this has been confirmed by the IDF. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu flew home earlier from the United States. He met with his security cabinet yesterday and has promised a severe response to this. We have been walking a very careful line. I don't think either Hezbollah or Israel has wanted to escalate at the moment, because this does affect the wider region. And yesterday, watching the funerals of 10 of the 12 children who were buried was more than the heart can bear. So I'm going to read you the names of the children. Alma Iman Fakr Eddin, she was 11. Milar Ma'ashad Al-Sha'ar, 10. Yunus Al-Dam Al-Fasadi, 11. Izil Nashat Ayub, 12. Yazan Naif Abu Salah, 12. Johnny Wadi Ibrahim, 13. Amir Rabia Abu Salah, 16. Naji Tahir Al-Ahabi, 11. Fajr Laith Abu Salah, 16. Hazim Akram Abu Salah, 14. Nazim Fakr Saab, 15. It's absolutely devastating. Sheikh Muwafaq Tarif, the spiritual leader of the Druze community, said that it's impossible to imagine the horrific images of children and their body parts strewn on the grass. RDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said there is no doubt that the rocket was sent by Hezbollah. He says Hezbollah has been lying and denying responsibility for the incident. Our intelligence is clear. Hezbollah is responsible for the murder of innocent children. The countries around the world, including the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and others, have condemned the attack, the massacre on innocent Israeli children. Canada also condemned it, and countries like Norway, Belgium, France, Germany, and others have called for their citizens in Lebanon to evacuate as quickly as possible. It is absolutely devastating, and we've been saying for months that this is Hezbollah. Whether or not this was a miscalculation by them or deliberately done by them, that it will have severe consequences. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has intimated that he will attack Israel or invade Israel. So what did he actually say? He said, just as we entered Karabakh and Libya, we will do the same to them to save the Palestinians. Now, no sooner had he made this announcement, his foreign ministry compared Hitler to Prime Minister Netanyahu, or rather Prime Minister Netanyahu to Hitler. Now, it's not the first time that a Turkish official has done this. Israel's foreign minister, Israel Katz, responded by saying that he is acting like Saddam Hussein, and don't forget what happened to Saddam Hussein. A few countries have called Erdogan a crazy man and have asked for him to be kicked out of NATO. A 15-year-old boy in France has been arrested following threats to kill President Herzog. President Herzog was in Paris for the opening of the Olympics. Now, I just want to address something about the Olympics. I watched what could only be called the sham of an opening ceremony. And on behalf of all my Christian friends out there, I was absolutely horrified and outraged by the parody, they called it, of the Last Supper. I know that the event planner said that this wasn't meant to offend anyone, and this was showing that in France people can love whoever they want. But the minute I saw that image, I knew what it was alluding to. And while I don't have an issue with drag queens on RuPaul's Drag Race or in clubs or drag queens in general, this was not the place for it. And it offended billions of Christians around the world. And quite frankly, I think many of us, Muslims and Jews, were highly offended as well. France has so much culture to draw on. Why did you have to go and offend our Christian brothers and sisters with something so sacred to them turned into a parody? It was an utter disgrace. Anyway, I digress. I'm going back to the story of the 15-year-old. He has been arrested for posting on social media about wanting to attack Herzog, and he admitted to it during his interrogation. And we go back to the Olympics, where the international judo Association will investigate why Algeria's judoka failed the weigh-in test in the 78-kilogram bout. He was due to compete against his Israeli counterpart and was 400 grams overweight, and it is believed that he did this deliberately in order to forfeit the match. Israel's Olympic Committee chief have said it's an absolute disgrace and has called on Algeria to be punished. Meanwhile, yesterday, and I don't know if this is divine intervention or just karma, the Tajikistan judoka who competed against Israel was defeated, and when our judoka went to hold out his hand to shake it, he ignored it and then promptly dislocated his shoulder in his next fight. Karma, just saying. Listen, if you've got a problem with us in the Olympics, take it to the tatami or the swimming pool or the gymnastics mat. But bear in mind, we don't quit that easy. And finally, for our viewers' question of the day, and it comes from Honey Creel. Honey, I think you're in South Africa. Well, big waves to Honey in South Africa, who says, the bodies of the hostages found, were they buried? Where is Hamas holding them? A very important question, Honey, because last week the RDF located the bodies of 5 hostages. Now, while we don't have too much information coming from the RDF where or how they found the hostages, we know that predominantly they are in the tunnels. The 5 that were found last week and brought home for dignified burial were found in a tunnel in Khan Yunis inside the humanitarian zone. This was found inside the humanitarian zone, which explains why the RDF evacuated civilians so that the military operation could continue there. And they were found in a tunnel 200 meters long, 20 meters deep, and apparently there were different rooms in that tunnel, which is where their remains were found. So I hope that answers your question, Honey, and as much as I'm able to do, I will update you when, please God, we recover either more remains or our hostages alive. And that brings me to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. If you would like to be a subscriber to our weekly newsletter, please be in touch with us via our website. And I have an article up there where I cover my visit last week to see the evidence that has been captured from the south of Israel and from Gaza. It's not an easy read. It will also be up on our Facebook page, at Lottel's site, on our YouTube channel where you are. If you like our content, please subscribe by clicking on the red subscribe button. And we are on X at Lay of the Land 5. I'm Rolly Marks. This is the Israel Brief, guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.